Iran has threatened to close the Strait of Hormuz for 40 years. The last time they actually tried it, they lost half their navy before sundown. April 18, 1988, the United States Navy sent 9 warships and a full carrier air wing into the Persian Gulf and answered an Iranian sea mine with the largest American surface battle since the Second World War. By the time the sun set that day, 2 Iranian frigates were destroyed. A missile boat was on the bottom of the Gulf. Half a dozen speedboats were shredded, and 2 oil platforms were burning in the dark water. The operation had a name, Praying Mantis, and the weapons America used that day, 1970s, harpoons, iron bombs, radar-guided gun, were ancient compared to what sits on the deck of an American destroyer today. And so when Iranian generals go on television in 2026 and threaten to close the door to 20 million barrels of oil a day, understand exactly what they are threatening. Not a new war, a rerun, and the United States Navy has already written the ending. This is the Hormuz kill switch. The locked doors start with the stakes. The Strait of Hormuz is 21 miles wide at its narrowest point. Through that gap, every single day flows roughly 20 million barrels of crude oil. 1/5 of everything the entire planet burns. Nearly 140 commercial ships push through the 2 shipping lanes every 24 hours. 1 out of every 4 barrels of seaborne oil on Earth passes through this single throat of water between Iran and Oman. If it closes, the global economy does not bend, it breaks. Asian refineries run cold within days. Japan, South Korea, India, and China, who together absorb almost 70% of the crude leaving this strait, start burning through strategic reserves within a week. Brent crude does not climb, it detonates. Iran knows this, and Iran has spent 4 decades building what Pentagon planners call an anti-access/area denial network, a 2/AD, specifically designed to weaponize that 21-mile choke point. Anti-ship cruise missiles hidden inside coastal caves, hundreds of fast attack speedboats built to swarm like hornets, shore-launched ballistic missiles, submarines in shallow water, and the crown jewel of the whole system, sea mines, lots of them. The U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency estimates the Iranian stockpile at over 5,000 naval mines, most of which can be dumped overboard from fishing trawlers and speedboats within hours. Here is the asymmetric trap Iran has set. A modern sea mine costs a few $1,000s. An American Arleigh Burke-class destroyer costs $2 billion. Tehran's entire theory of victory is that America will refuse to risk a $1 billion warship against a $5,000 weapon. It's clever. It's cheap. It's exactly the wrong fight to pick, because the United States Navy did not build the world's most expensive fleet to play Iran's game. It built the fleet to rewrite the rules entirely. Phase 1, the silent sweepers. The first lock on the door has to come off underwater. Before a single American carrier noses into the strait, the water itself has to be made safe. And here is where the 2026 answer looks nothing like 1988. Back then, minesweeping was slow, dangerous, human work. Sailors on wooden-hulled ships staring into the water and hoping. Today, it is done by machines. Meet the Sea Fox, a torpedo-shaped unmanned underwater vehicle, roughly the size of a surfboard, operated remotely from an MCM, mine countermeasures ship. The Sea Fox swims out ahead of the fleet. It hunts with onboard sonar and a forward-facing camera, and when it confirms a mine, it does something no human sailor ever could. It drives straight into the target and detonates a shaped charge in its nose. The robot dies. The mine dies. No American sailor is within a mile of the blast. Alongside the Sea Fox works the Knifefish, a 22-foot autonomous underwater drone developed by General Dynamics, designed to hunt the mines that older sweepers miss. Buried mines, bottom mines, mines sitting in the high-cluttered junk of the sea floor. The Knifefish uses low-frequency broadband sonar and onboard AI to classify targets. Its entire purpose is to walk into the minefield so the mothership doesn't have to. Put it all together and the math flips upside down for Iran. The expensive warship never enters the minefield. The cheap robots do. Iran spent 40 years building a trap for billion-dollar destroyers, and the United States Navy is about to spring it with machines that cost a fraction of that, and feel nothing when they die. This is how the door gets unlocked. Not by force, by patience, by hundreds of small, silent, tireless hunters, clearing a corridor the American fleet can walk through without breaking stride. Phase 2, the corridor of steel. Now the fleet moves, and around it travels a bubble of protection so dense that Iranian planners in their own war games have quietly concluded it cannot be penetrated. That bubble has a name, Aegis. Why a single Aegis-equipped cruiser or destroyer can track more than 100 airborne targets simultaneously: cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, drones, aircraft, sea-skimming threats flying just feet above the waves. Every Aegis ship in the battle group shares its radar picture with every other ship through a data link called Cooperative Engagement Capability. What one sees, all see. What one can shoot, all can shoot. And the shooting is where Iran's math falls apart. At long range, the SM-6, a missile that kills cruise missiles, intercepts ballistic warheads in their terminal phase, and can even sink surface ships. Mid-range, the evolved Sea Sparrow. And at the final desperate ring, inside the last few hundred meters, add the Phalanx CIWS, a radar-guided 20mm Gatling gun that fires 4,500 rounds a minute and turns incoming missiles into metal rain. Iran's favorite scenario is the saturation swarm, launching dozens of anti-ship missiles at once to overwhelm American defenses. The problem is that Aegis was built during the Cold War specifically to defeat Soviet saturation attacks involving hundreds of simultaneous missiles. A few dozen Iranian cruise missiles is not a saturation attack, it is target practice. This is the corridor of steel, a moving bubble of protection that travels with the American fleet. 100 missiles fired, 100 missiles dead before they reach a hull. That is not a battle, that is a filter. Phase 3. Temporal dominance. But defense alone does not open a strait. Offense does. And this is the phase where 2026 breaks most violently from 1988. The moment an Iranian coastal missile battery lights up its radar, the moment it reveals its position, that battery is already dead. It just doesn't know it yet. American destroyers and submarines carry the Tomahawk land attack missile, a cruise missile with a range of roughly 1,000 miles, guided by GPS and terrain matching, that lands within feet of its target. A single Ohio-class guided missile submarine can launch 154 Tomahawks in one salvo. One submarine, 154 precision strikes. And behind the Tomahawk comes the next generation, Dark Eagle, the U.S. Army-Navy long-range hypersonic weapon, flying at more than 5 times the speed of sound and giving an American commander the ability to destroy a coastal target thousands of miles away before the enemy radar operator has time to finish a sentence. Put it together and the logic is brutal. Iran fires once and loses the launcher. Iran fires twice and loses the reload crew. Iran fires 3 times and has no coastal battery left. Pentagon planners call this temporal dominance, the ability to hit your enemy faster than he can hit you back. It is the single reason every serious wargame of a Hormuz closure arrives at the same conclusion. Iran can close the strait for hours, maybe a couple of days. The United States Navy can reopen it, for good, in about a week. Built the most layered power projection machine in human history. Robotic mine hunters below the waves, the Aegis shield above them. A counter-strike arsenal that can flatten a coastal battery faster than that battery can reload. All of it aimed at one goal: making the cost of closing this strait higher than any nation on Earth is willing to pay. A blockade is a theory. The United States Navy is the reality. The world depends on the strait being open. And as long as there is an American carrier in the Persian Gulf, a Sea Fox in the water, and a Tomahawk in a vertical launch tube, it will stay that way. Because in the great game of global energy, one nation holds the master key. And as Praying Mantis already proved, America is not afraid to turn it.